Get this done by working together as a team.
Jeez, Bob. Keep buzzing in my ear.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. Part 2 of X-Men and Alpha Flight from 1985. We finally have Loki making his presence known. The Lord of Lies is going to save the world if he has to kill the X-Men and Alpha Flight to do it. And we see here the fallen, some of our fallen heroes. We got Cyclops, Professor Xavier, Sasquatch, and somebody's here. And so this is a, oh, there we go. That was Puck, and then Nightcrawler, and Colossus is way over here, and we got some frost giants. So, all right, The Gift, Part 2. Chris Claremont, writer. Paul Smith returns as pencils. Really miss Paul Smith. I mentioned this on the last one. I really wish he hadn't left. It's not that I hate John Romita Jr. It's that I really do think Paul Smith is a better penciler. Bob Wiacek, Tom Ozakowski. We have a different colorist, and then we got 2 editors, and then Jim Shooter. So, all right. It looks like they gave up the idea, which is why, so I don't think Chris Claremont really was going to write this, and it looks like he was sort of pushed. And so I'm sure they didn't have to convince him too hard. So we're in Canada here, and we've got Talisman. She is the daughter of a shaman from Alpha Flight here. And like the previous issue, I'm really not going to do a lot of the dialogue. I'm just sort of going to narrate what is going on because these videos, Chris Claremont is one of my favorite writers, but he is extremely verbose and puts a lot on the page. So she is looking for Kitty Pryde and Phoenix. Phoenix, of course, left running. I shouldn't call her Phoenix. She's not Phoenix yet. Oh, my goodness. Rachel Summers. So when she found out that Madeline and Cyclops were having a boy, so she's upset because she'll never grow up to be, there will never be a her. But anyway, so Talisman is going, and she's wondering, this place is bigger than she thought. And so, all right, this is what I mean. Look at the verbosity. And so as she's going through, she finds a sketchbook and pulls it out here. And it's Paul Dominic, who is the designer. But here's the thing. It started out really good, and then eventually he couldn't draw, and we're gonna see sort of there's a price to pay for all this incredible stuff. And so, and she's seeing this and going, what, this can't be the same person, this looks like a child's. And so Shadowcat shows up here, and they talk. They're both the newest members of each of their respective teams. And Kitty says, hey, come look at what I found here. And they find a perfectly preserved Norse settlement. And she wonders how did it get preserved, and asks Loki if he has seen Rachel. They find a runestone. Kitty asks if it's important, and Talisman's like, maybe not, but she'd like to know a little bit more, and that she'll try to translate it later. And you can see Loki is trying to shove Kitty, and so he must have found Rachel. Loki is so cute. I don't know. I don't know. He just looks awesome. So, all right. So off they go then, and they find Rachel here, And she's like, go away, leave me alone. And they're like, we came to help. And she's like, stupid meddling brat, can't you take a hint? And she fires her. And Kitty's like, no. Of course, she can phase out of it here. Um, she says, hey, I know how you feel. And this isn't the end of the world. And she says, it is a mine. My father's child is a boy. And so she's like, if that baby's supposed to be me, and if it's not me, then I don't exist in the future. And then Kitty's like, but you do exist. And she goes, my past is a lie. And I don't know. It's kind of like, it actually isn't. It's just you're an alternate, but that's all right. Now we don't deal with that. And so um, Shadowcat goes, is that so bad? I've seen your world, Ray. I don't care for it. In your memories, I learned the limits of my life. I saw my loved ones slaughtered. But suppose your time shift to your past, to your presence, changes the future for a better. Our story may have a happy ending. Isn't that worth the price? And she's like, I guess, but it still hurts. So if you remember, Rachel Summers is for from Days of Futures Past, which I have covered. I have several playlists. Feel free to check them out if you would like. And of course, Talaman is like, she wants a family, a father that she can't have, whereas I turned my back on mine. So, and she goes, I've resented, even hated my dad for so long, blaming him for my mom's death. But I wonder, in trying so hard to hurt him, if I've simply hurt myself more. So, and so there's a tremor here, and Kitty's like, the cave's collapsing, and Talisman's like, it can't be. This air's tectonic stable. And Kitty's like, tell that to the rocks. So, off they go. They're gonna make a nice big hole here, and they're gonna get out. And Talisman's like, we can't leave Rachel. And Kitty's like, she can take care of herself. Come on, Beth, run for it as fast as you can. So you can see Rachel trying to hold on here, and Talisman is gonna climb up here, and Kitty's gonna go get Rachel here. And so we talk a little bit about her limits here. She goes, I have to phase. That'll slow me down. Could be big trouble too. I have to become solid to take a breath, but I can't if there's no space for my body. That's true. So, and Talisman says, my power to disrupt spell isn't all that useful against an avalanche. I hope Kitty's okay, but what do I do if she isn't? So, all right, she phases through and yells at Rachel. And she noticed that that Norse village is gone. And Phoenix says, or Rachel says, she can't hold out much longer. And Kitty says, you don't have to. Take a big breath and let's go. And so grabs them, and so they phase through, eventually getting out here. Talaman's worried because it's taken too long, but they made it here. So they get out there, and Loki's happy. You can see him licking her. So, all right, so off they go. And Rachel's like, I think I can carry a Talisman. And she's like, you think? And so, um, Shadowcat's like, we haven't much room to spare and a long ways to go. So, and Talisman says, the fire somehow transformed human beings into super beings. Goodness knows what it might do to us. And suddenly there's a big burst of energy here. And they're like, Talisman, Shadowcat says, Talisman, she brushed the energy field and yells for them. And then, that little fire fountain vanished, and you can see that it knocked them really hard through. Now, here's the thing. Neither ones have superpower or super strength or invulnerability. They should still be crushed, but still very, very cartoony here. Very cool. So Talaman's like, ooh, that was something. So Talaman's power disrupts magic, and so they realize that that fountain source is magical. And of course, Kitty Pryde says here, sorcery doesn't just happen. Spells have to be cast. And so Rachel asks, who do you think? And she's like, the cave-in wasn't an accident. Somebody's afraid of what they've learned. Kitty says, they have the solution to war, prejudice, famine, disease. Want all humanity's ill, but now she feels down as they leave that sketchbook behind. So now we're back to that dinner. So these guys here are talking about, oh, the best meal, the best clothes. And Maddie Pryor here, she goes, I wish I could be as cheerful, but I keep thinking about Shaman. I can heal any wound, cure any disease, but why can't I help him? He's dying, withering away before our eyes. And you can see that she is with Scott here. And there's something kind of, because here she's sitting. Um, so you can see clearly there's no, but then on the same side, so is he just going to her, or I don't know. So, all right. Anyway, and Cyclops says maybe nature demands a balance. For all the good you do, maybe there's got to be a little sadness. And he's cured of his optic blast. He's about to be a dad. And the embrace here about the talking about the kid they're about to have, which is funny because then comes X Factor and he leaves her back for Jean Grey. It's just now keep in mind that was never the design, but Claremont was setting up a happy ending for Cyclops and it just wasn't meant to be. So all right. Maddie goes to her. She's the rock shaper. And kind of gives her some strength. And she says her name is Jean. No pun intended. Madeline, there's something you should know. And Madeline says, I understand. You rest. I'll take care of things. And she says, Scott, I gotta go. And he asks if there's any trouble. He says, nothing earth shaking. He says, can I help? Yup, by staying put and minding the party. Be back soon. As she gives him a kiss. So we're back to Kitty, and she's looking out. Who can she trust? And she's gonna try to find Professor Xavier, but then she finds Addie with Wolverine here, or sorry, Maddie with Wolverine here. And so she doesn't want to be seen, so she's going to phase out. She thinks Madeline is acting pretty sneaky. And she wonders what he needed to be healed for because he's got a healing factor. So she wakes him up here. And so she tells Wolverine kind of what happened. And she goes, you're not angry? He says, nope. She burned the berserker madness out of my system. I'm sane now. I'm human. And she goes, great, peachy keen, wonderful. If not for that berserker, your mentor Olga would have killed us both. So, and Wolverine says, you saying, girl, I can't hack it as a man, only as a psycho? And so, of course, she looks down here. And then she kind of changes the subject, asks if he found Snowbird. And he says, I don't remember. Pathfinder, Beefmaster, and I split up. I thought I had a scent. After that, I drew a blank. And she goes, Logan, your berserker self is the wild animal side of your nature. Beast Masters controls animals. He could have made you quit. And then Wolverine wonders why. And so she tells him he's suspicious. And Wolverine says, I can't spot their scents. The men aren't back. They haven't found Snowbird. And Maddie's stunt gives us an unexpected edge. I was always more than a nutcase butcher, Kitty. Losing that part of myself doesn't make me any less dangerous. Whole and human, as Madeline made me, I'm immune to Boyd Wilson's influence. Imagine his surprise when he discovers that. So, you alert Xavier and have Aurora meet me at the main gate. We got no time to waste. And you can see him pop his claws and a lot of ground to cover. And so now some time has passed because Wolverine is with Aurora here. And so they're looking for the medicine pouch that Shaman's medicine pouch. And you can see those creatures are still there. They're looking for his pouch because, as Aurora says here, Shaman would reach into that pouch and pull free whatever charmer, spell, or monster he required to help Alpha Flight. Wolverine says, "Stay in the background, Aurora, till I give the yell. If I run into trouble, bring the cavalry." And so here they've got everybody here, and so Wolverine says, "This chaos, pure and primordial. All Shaman's critters are trying to tear themselves apart, just like they did him. What happened when he entered the Citadel?" And so Snowbird's scent is strong. No way I would have missed it. She took sick the moment the fire fountain appeared. She and Shaman are magic. The fountain's magic. There has to be a link. And of course, she founds Snowbird, and she says, "Go away, Logan. I beg you, old friend. Let me end my days alone." And Logan says, it ain't your time, darling." So he's gonna help her. And you can see Loki here. No matter what some people think. And so, of course, they call out for Wolverine here. By the way, love the screen tones being done here. "Wolverine, come out, my friend, and walk away. We mean you no harm. Believe me, we'd cure Snowbird if we could, but it's too late for that. The world is changing, and there's no place in it for the likes of her or Shaman. All we ask is that you let Beastmaster and me put her out of her misery." So, Loki does his little fire from the dragon here. "You want the Lady Rodriguez? You got to go through the dragon and me." So that is pretty cool. Loki and Wolverine. So, all right. And so after dinner here, this guy says, "Hey, Colossus, you want to wrestle after supper?" And this guy, and Colossus is like, "I do not wish to hurt you." And he's like, "That'll be the day." And then they see Rogue here, who looks very lovely here. And she asks John Paul and he's for a dance, and he's like, "No." But then they're all like, come on." And so eventually he concedes, and they dance, and she's so happy. And you can see her here. "Jean Paul, she set me free." So, and Professor Xavier says that Puck and Heather, they could do the same, and they're not sure yet, but she talks about how Shaman and Snowbird, it's just a shame that there doesn't seem to be. And Talisman goes to the librarian here, and he goes, "The knowledge of the ages, Miss Two Young Men, at my fingertips, but I'm afraid nothing to aid your father. His world is no more. Earth has become a place where a shaman can no longer survive any more than the dinosaurs could the ice ages. I am sorry." And so she brings him the runestone, and he says, "This runestone you found is really quite fascinating. It's a dedication stone marking the deity to whom the settlement was consecrated and the souls of its people pledged." And you can see here very subtly that Talisman is crying because they're not able to help her father. Anyway, he continues here. "Usually the object of such stones were Odin and Thor." And she says, "I know, but this one's different." He says, "Yes, it's much rarer, almost unheard of. The dedication is Loki." So here we are in Asgard, and he's like, Fenris cracked their bones here because they figured it out here. "I've given these fools the power to reshape the world. Why are they being so contrary about it? Why can they not simply accept Loki's gift without question?" As he kind of throws the his glass here. "My curse on those who live above in shadow. Are they biting to gain a prize beyond prize? I humbled myself. I did a good deed, but that they said was not sufficient. I must yet prove myself worthy. But what use? What are my efforts, my hopes and dreams, if those misbegotten mortals refuse the glory I offer them?" So, Loki. This is why when the Loki series came out, this anti-hero Loki, I don't like him. I like evil, scheming Loki. So, And so Rogue and North Star are talking. They go, it's hard to believe that they're in the Arctic Circle, but they can smell wildflower, and there's a blizzard on the other side. And he says here that, this is a paradise reborn, a new Garden of Eden for humanity. And she says, does that bother you? And of course, he says, everything has a price. And Rogue says, are you sure you're just not doing sour grapes because Aurora's happy and you're not? And he says, I wish it was as simple as that. And then she gasps here. And so these guys are talking about, ending prejudice and saving the world. And they're like, where's the harm in answering it if you can? Meaning, that answering the need. And of course, here comes Wolverine. If you're talking dreams, and he kicks that door with that big boom. It's past time you lot woke up and took a long, hard look at reality. And she's like, Mr. Wolverine, what is the meaning of this? And he says, the party's over, lady. And Wolverine says, stay out of my head, Charlie. You too, Ray. My thoughts right now ain't for decent folks. From the very start, people, we've been conned. And Wolverine tosses the guy. We've been played for suckers. And so they're like, Boyd Wilson, Beastmaster, he's barely alive, but I think I can pull him through, thank heaven. You don't look much better, Wolverine. What the devil happened? Where's Pathfinder? And he says, flying with the angels. And he takes a drink here. And so Wolverine says he deserved better. But then so do a lot of folks. Some of you have wondered about the price of those fantastic powers the Fire Mountain's been dishing out. And you can see him pulling here. Well, here it is. And you see Snowbird there all screwed up here. She's a creature of magic. She took sick the moment the fountain came into being. Shaman powers derives from magic. It went crazy the moment we walked through the Citadel's front door. His daughter Talisman neutralizes magic. She disrupts the fountain with a touch. I figure its genesis, the energy it uses for its transformation, has to be magic. And the guy here, the librarian, says, not simply magic, Wolverine, all the magic in the world. I've known from the beginning. I read it in my library. The fountain will grow, spreading its influence across the globe. Everyone who lives will become like us, except people like Snowbird and Shaman, and probably Doctor Strange. They're doomed. And Wolverine says no. And Rachel is like, have you a right to prevent it? Think of what you're doing, Wolverine. This is our chance to remake the world. And Northstar says, if we're willing to sacrifice our friends. And Rachel is like, in my memory, Northstar, and the moments and manners of all your deaths, I'll do anything to prevent that. And Wolverine says, that's your choice, your privilege. You've no right to make it for anyone else. And so Shaman is like, I'm a doctor, and my oath demands I work for the benefit of my fellow man. Perhaps this is mine and Naria or Snowbird's time has indeed come. And Colossus says, I'm a peasant and my family are farmers. Our land is good and we work hard, yet despite our best effort, many in our country go hungry. And how many in the world are starving, with sick or without a decent home? And Shadowcat's like, what are you saying, that this is good? And he says, yes, we can end famine, disease, want, hatred, possibly even war. Is that so bad? This is quite the tale, because it really possesses a lot. Is the need of the many better than the need of the few? It is quite. And this is essentially what the story is about. Do the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few? It's very similar, what is it, in Star Trek II, The Rise of Khan, when Spock sacrifices himself and he says the need of the many outweigh the need of the few. And so this is essentially what we have here. And so Shadowcat says, a rational transaction, huh? The needs of the many balanced against the lives of the few. Think about who those few are. Colossus. So Doctor Strange, Nightcrawler's girlfriend Amanda, and maybe Ororo and Ileana, your kid sister, and Lord knows how many more. And Kitty's like, I'm sorry, I won't accept this. A gift so tainted with innocent blood is one I want no part. I stand with Wolverine. And this guy here says, this is our citadel, youngster, and in part our gift. We'll decide what to do with it and live with those consequences. And Wolverine looks up, or die with them. And Colossus says, Professor, Xavier, Guardian, you must stop the madness before it's too late. And Professor has chosen Wolverine's side. He says, this is but one way, Colossus. Stand aside. And he's like, nope, forgive me, sir, but I will not. And he transforms. You can see a tear. Very touching, very touching. And so we see Cyclops also joined the other side. So we've got, so here we have those that decided they don't want any part in it. And so we got Nightcrawler, Cyclops, Talisman, Rogue, and Xavier, Shadowcat, North Star, and Wolverine. So, and Rogue says, you know, I like long odds, but this is ridiculous. And Cyclops says, hey, this is being an underdog dog is par for the course. And of course, Shadowcat is, how do we fight our friends? And Madeline's on the other side. Your wife, Scott, your unborn son. And he says, let's hope, Shadowcat, this will prove as hard for them as for us. And he fires his optic blasts at them. So, and so we're going to have a brief fight here. And I'm not going to really read much of this stuff here, but basically the two teams here are divided up, and you can see this guy who controls stuff here, and so he's the master builder. You know, it's kind of funny, all the code names that were used on this that you just never get used again. So and so here we go. This is a very cool panel here. You can see everyone kind of fighting here. There's really no good or bad. It's just a matter of perspective. And so the ground opens up, and Xavier's like, uh-oh, somebody better get me before this closes here. This is a great panel here, nice vertical one. And Nightcrawler catches him, and then they keep teleporting out. And so they get to that light thing, and she's afraid that it may kill her. And the builder is like, allow me, Alphins, to alleviate your concern. And so he uses his stick and puts him in. And Aurora finds the sketchbook, and he's like, where did you get that? I thought I threw this forever. And she's like, but your drawings were beautiful. Why throw them away? And of course, Talisman had seen it. And he says, and she figures it out, and we get the crux of the story here. His designs, of course, no wonder they seem familiar. The Citadel, buildings, furniture, decorations, even the crystal sphere, they're all from Dominic's sketchbook. And he's like, shut up, I don't want to hear it. And Talisman continued, that's crazy. You should be proud of those magical creations, far beyond the capability of any human agency. But with your power, you've made them real. And then she goes, spirits. I said magical. I meant it because that's what they are. The key, this is the key, the answer to transform people. Does the fire fountain consume not just the world's magic, but their own personal inner magic as well? And you can see him covering his face in shame. And does that magic include the ability to dream, to imagine, to truly create? And he's beaten here. He says, you saw the book, Talisman. The last pages, nothing but scribbles. A baby could do better. It was wonderful at first. All my fantasies could suddenly, with the wave of a hand, be made gloriously real. But when I ran out of sketches of things to copy and tried to come up with something new, I couldn't. And he smashes and frees them here. That is the price. That is the price. The special part within ourselves that allows us to create. And Aurora says, this changes everything. We have to tell the others. So, but the others are still fighting. So, all right. Wolverine says to Cyclops, "This is getting us nowhere." And Cyclops says, "You eager to add your body to your body count, Mister?" And then he says, "I had no more choice then, Bob, than we do now." And Cyclops is like, "I don't accept that." And Vindicator says, "Cyclops, this is your final warning." And so here comes Alpha Flight, or the two members, and says, "Guardian, stop. Heather, all of you, for heaven's sake, listen." And they're like, "It's a trick, Guardian." Sorry, a trick, Guardian. And she's like, "I think not, Sasquatch." And so they get down here, um and so they explain everything, and Kitty's like, "It's the same with cornucopia. Show her a recipe or a costume and she'll reproduce it perfectly, but she can't originate anything on her own. Those changed by the fire fountain are given power beyond their wildest dream, but in the process they lose their ability to dream, and in that indefinable transcendent something that makes us human." And so finally, Loki appears here. And is that so bad a thing, mortal? So high a price to pay for becoming like unto a god? And so, um, and so he shows up. He says, "I am Loki, Prince of Asgard, your humble benefactor. Thanks to my fire fountain, you are no longer human. Therefore, what need have you for so-called humanity?" And so, great panel again, nice vertical one. And so this guy here, I forgot some other names. "What was important to me, what gave my life meaning, wasn't the ability to build, but to create. What good is my power, your gift, if it costs my imagination?" And Loki's like, "Have a care, manling. Thou art but a little god. I am Lord of the Golden Realm. Take not that tone with me." I love that. "Moreover, Master Builder, I sense thine objections are not shared by the majority of thy fellows. For thy convenience, Paul Dominic, thy sake, should the world suffer?" And so everybody watches. "Think not, my friend, about what shall be lost here, but what it is to be gained." So this is a great theoretical plot, or you know this is so good. What This is really truly a great thing to ponder. It's unanswerable. It just you it's not something that people would all agree on. It is so perfect. Think not about what you lose, but what you gain. And Cyclops is about to make his pitch. So Cyclops says, "Those of us that have powers will be the only ones to dream. How long till we're resented and be outcast, pariah, targets?" And Loki's like, "You will all yield, and or you'll need not wait for the hour of your destruction. It is at hand. Even your considerable might is no match for yonder snow giants creatures, as ancient eternals as the planet, as mercilessly powerful as winter itself." So, and Cyclops says, you don't force people to accept gifts, mister. You have to have any meanings, they got to be as freely taken. And so one of the things real quick is, if you notice, it's I think we ran into a bit of a deadline issue. I don't think, unfortunately, Paul Smith had a lot of time, and you can see that some of these pencils are really getting loose, and I think that the inkers just could not keep up with trying to, because I think he was giving loose pencils, and you can see that the inker is just basically inking loose pencils here. And Loki's like, "We gods have ever known what is best for thee and thine, Cyclops. Why canst thou not trust me?" And he hits him with the optic blast, because Loki is known throughout all creation as the god of lies. And so, thou darest strike a god. That's so funny. Misbegotten mortal, thou and thy ilk shall pay dearly for such effrontery. And so, here we go. Another battle here. So, as everyone takes on the snow giants. And so here we see that Wolverine did not kill that dude here. And Shaman's like, you can leave and let us to die. But he helps him out and he says, I've seen enough blood today, Shaman. I became as much an animal as the beast I commanded me. The memory still sickens me. I still don't much like mutants, but I'm no murderer. I'll save you if I can. So Loki says, your defiance comes too late, mortals. Behold, as my fire fountain reaches forth to transform the face and nature of your world. So, and Nightcrawler is like, that's unbelievable. And Rose is like, you think that's something fuzzy? Watch this. And so she wonders if she can absorb Loki here, and she touches him, and Loki's like, how futile. So, and so Talisman begs for help, and this guy says, why should we, girl? Who says we want to win? And Talisman says, you've been deceived from the start. Don't you see? Loki never intended allowing free choice. At every stage, he manipulated you like puppets. Why else would Earthmover try to bury Rachel and Kitty, or Pathfinder and Beastmaster do their best to murder Snowbird? Are you killers? Is that your nature? You're a healer. Is that the kind of world paid for with innocent blood you want for yourselves, for your children? And of course, they all say, we deny your gift. We want no part of it. As I deny the false god who prefers it. And Loki's like, rash words, woman. For be sure thou will have cause to regret them. And so he was about to hit Maddie and shoves her out of the way. Instead, he takes the hit. But here we go. Now everybody's on the same page here. This is a nice panel here as he makes a turn here and grabs Madeline here. And so they're gonna try to save that guy here before that got hit. And so she's trying to, and she's gonna try to fix him, and suddenly my healing flames, they're dying out, and Loki is refusing. And Loki says, as I recall, my lady, thou didst deny my gift. And he's like, Loki, no. Thou spokest with considerable passion, Madeline Parr. Far be it from me to stand in the way of such righteous determination. He can't. He says, it is done. And she's like, but Sam will die. He's like, a pity, truly. As I am touched by thy solicitude as his plight. But there is naught that I can do, for my power have nothing to do with the healing arts. That, dear Anodyne, was thy purview. And so she's like, trapped. No matter which way I turn, I lose. And Northstar is like, the man is barely breathing. I couldn't feel any heartbeat. Please, Loki, he's my friend. Help me save him. And he says, of course, dear lady, thou hadst but to ask. And he takes her tear here, and he cuts, and she gets her powers back, and he's like, there you go. And however, and he grabs her by the neck, I want no more defiance. My will shall be done, mortal, and thou wilt do all within thy power to aid me. I have thy word on it. And she's like, yes. And he tosses her. He's like, splendid. And Maddie's like, you were part of my crew, Sam, as well as a friend. I failed that responsibility once, never again. And so she saves him here. I should have known my sins couldn't be wiped away so easily. But my baby's innocence, he shouldn't have to pay for my mistakes. He wouldn't be the first. Maybe it's better this way. The poor thing will never know what he's missing. To him, clouds in the sky won't be dragons or horses or ships or castle. They'll just be clouds. And so here comes Wolverine. He says, Loki, anybody interested in a piece of what's left of that jump after I'm done with him? And again, the you can just see Paul Smith is not that he's mailing it in. It's just I think he only had like 2 months to come up with almost 100 pages. This is almost 4 issues done into. So, Professor X says, Wolverine, wait. The battle is over, Asgardian. As you can plainly see, your giants have lost. And he sighs here. Good help is so hard to find, says Loki. However, dear Anodyne hath changed her mind, ever a woman prerogative, and now accepts my gift with all her heart. She bids you to do the same. Is this not so sweet? Is this not so, my sweet? And she just looks down. Yes, 'tis I who am the victor here. And suddenly, not so, Mischief. Master of Mischief. And he's like, by the Fenris bloody fangs. And so it's those that sit above it all. And so they say, we who live above in shadow, who are to Asgard as its immortal sons and daughters are to the realm of men, have witnessed and judged you and found thee wanting. Thy petition is denied. And Loki's like, no. And he goes, and they go, the terms of our bargain were specific. A deed of goodness, a gift free given. And Loki's like, but I have done by giving these mortals the means to make their world a paradise. And the guy says, and when they said no, thou forced them to thy will. Be that the concept of freedom, of goodness? By words and deeds thou were to prove yourself worthy of our bounty. Instead, thou hast branded thyself most manifestly the opposite such words. And Loki's like, pulling pathetic Magus, does thou know what you've cost me? And suddenly they yell at him, Loki, stay thy wrath, thou shalt harm no innocent. Thou shalt allow these thy guests to depart in peace, and further pledge, as Prince of Asgard, in thy father Odin's holy name, never do them any harm, in this fear or any other. Fail in this, and thou shalt feel our vengeance. So, and so Loki says, and so I swear, look how big he is. Hadst thou but accepted the refusal in good grace, Odin's son, all would have been thine. Blame not the deeds of others for thy failure. The fault lies within thyself. And he's like, pompous windbag, someday, somehow, there will be a reckoning. Mortals, my word has been given, and contrary to popular belief, I shall not be forsworn. But know you have made an enemy this day, whose reach is as long as his memory, and who prides himself on returning blow for blow in full measure. You have refused my most generous favor. I therefore take it back, together with every benefit derived from it. And so everybody basically goes back to normal, and of course Cyclops can no longer control the optic blast here. And so Wolverine even feels the berserker rage, and so and then Loki goes, this need not be. The fire fountain still burns. I can yet undo all I have taken away. And he continues here. Be this what you truly want? Be these the lives you wish to lead? Think, friends, of what was and what might be if you but ask. So, Puck to be tall, Rogue to touch, this guy to be a hero, Aurora to have peace with herself, and Loki continues, spurn me, and all that is gone. Your world will remain dark and full of anguish. Moreover, from this moment, the suffering and death of your entire race will rest upon your shoulders. And Puck says, that is a cross I choose to bear. So do us a favor, take off. We're not interested. And Loki says, so be it, fools. And so he leaves. and the frost giant leaves, and Shaman and Snowbird are once again back, and Snowbird tells them, thank you, and I know this decision cost you dear, but your sacrifice was not in vain. Loki's gift, for all its good intent, would have cost the Earth its soul, leaving it perfect in form and feature, yet hollow and sterile within. In truth, that is a world and a future I would have been glad to never see. So, um, some of them have second thoughts, but they believe it's the right decision. And Northstar comes with the medicine bag, and he says thank you. And Shaman says, we can yet make a difference, Heather. As heroes, as people, Loki's way was a quick fix, an easy fix. Ours will be longer and harder, but I have ever believed the best things are those we earn rather than what we are given. So, and so everybody gets on board, but North Star is going to take a leave, I believe, of absence from Alpha Flight, and off he goes. And everybody's ready to be, but they realize that Rachel isn't there, and Cyclops is gonna go find her. And Maddie's like, Scott, has he lost his mind? Where's Cyclops? Where's he doing? And they're like, he's going to go find Rachel. And Kitty wonders if they should follow, and she's like, nope, nobody else leave. And so here comes Cyclops yelling for Rachel, and he finds her here. And so, and she wonders if she should say anything, and Cyclops is like, Rachel, we have to go. And she goes, I know, I'm ready. And so she decides not to tell him what it is. And she says, I'm told you're from the future. She says, a future. We will know if it's the future till we get there. So, and she uses a quote that sort of Cyclops would say, and then he says, did your father die in that future? She says, all the X-Men did. You know, you remind me a lot of someone. And she says, is that good or bad? And she says, that is good. He says, she was a very dear to me, and when she died, all the light of the joy went out of my life. A part of me will always miss her. I never imagined I'd be as happy and fulfilled again until I met Madeline. It isn't the same, but that doesn't mean it can't be as good or maybe even better. And Rachel holds his arm and says, my mom had a saying, everybody deserves a second chance. And she says, smart lady. Yeah, when they made my folks, they broke the mold. And she goes, I'm not going to tell them. Others, all of a sudden, I have the feeling I don't need to. And Cyclops is like, funny. I was thinking much the same thing about you. And so we get to the last page here. So the airplane takes off here, and suddenly this little flower appears here, and Claremont lets us know it's a reminder that humanity alone carries within itself the power to create a paradise on earth on its own terms by its own efforts, without the gifts or machination of greedy gods, which for better or worse is how it should be. So, all right, here we go. So, X-Men and Alpha Flight number 2. It's really like a 4-parter between these two issues. So, all right. So, this was a pretty long video. I do apologize for it, but we made it here. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.